Also in your blog, Ryan, you discuss the importance of typography, and Jeff and I talk about font choice,
Yeah.
but just taking it from a maybe a higher level of abstraction and maybe a more pragmatic level. Why is font choice important?
Well, it relates to readability, and it relates to aesthetics, which I think are somewhat undervalued in document design for lawyers. I don't think lawyers really think of the concept of document design in general, and but it is closely tied to readability, and it's closely tied to whether your document is inviting. And I think that if your documents are your filings and your templates are aesthetically pleasing and typographically sound, it does actually make you look different. And sometimes it might look like you must be violating a rule because it looks so different than what other law firms submit. So for example, sometimes you need line numbers. I don't like line numbers, and so whenever they're not explicitly required by a court rule, I omit them because it creates more visual white space around the text, which makes it more inviting and easy to read. If you think about, when you read a novel, you've never seen a novel with line numbers, and because they're a distraction. And so I think thinking about document design and aesthetics is important. With respect to with that, there's basic things that you can do to sort of move your briefs in that direction. One is to sort of reduce visual clutter. A lot of law firms, for example, will put their address in the footer of every page of a filing, and to me, that's completely nonsensical visual clutter. And another thing that you'll see on pleading, they'll have pleading templates that they'll use for everything that have not only line numbers but also sort of these random vertical bars on each side of the text. Maybe one bold and one less bold, and well, the white margins act as a frame of the text anyway, so that's just purely redundant visual clutter. And
so in your pleading template, obviously where it's called for, you include the line numbers.
That's right.
But do you do not include those vertical lines on either side of the page?
No.
Interesting.
Just the line numbers in the text.
Okay.
Yes, and as far as font goes, I when I taught advanced legal writing, I gave my students a choice between a handful of fonts. My font and the font my firm uses for filings is Palatino Linotype, but a couple other options are Century Schoolbook, Book Antica, and Baskerville.
What was the first one you said? Palatino?
Palatino Linotype. Yes.
With Century Schoolbook being the correct choice, Tim, in case you're wondering.
Well, the Supreme Court thinks so, I think, and they use Century, I believe, or Seventh Circuit, I think, may use Century or Century Schoolbook. Those are they're different. They're more artful in some ways than some of the other choices. But to me, I like Palatino Linotype. I think it's very readable, but it doesn't necessarily draw attention to itself.
So in my trial court briefs, I'm still using Times New Roman. Should I switch? And I see in my outline here, Jeff has typed a note to me. Yes, you're a monster, Tim.
Well, I can just tell you that Times New Roman is the default choice that a lot of people use, but it was actually designed for narrow newspaper columns. So in terms of the actual width of the letters, it is narrower than for example Palatino Linotype or the other fonts I mentioned, and that makes a difference. And so I would just try the others and print them out. Sometimes you can't see these differences on the screen so clearly, but if you print them out and just explore which of these is actually more inviting to read. And like I said earlier, I think that having your briefs look a little bit different from everybody else's can actually be a bit of an asset if it looks better.
Well, now that you've mentioned putting white space on the page, it's got me thinking, should I be including extra line breaks in between sections or even paragraphs in my briefs?
Yes, I do advocate using the space after and space before settings on the paragraph menu in Word to add additional space after and before headings. So rather than hit enter twice, you'll have a heading and then you hit enter and it'll automatically insert that space. I don't remember the exact settings I use, but I do make sure that the headings are padded in that way. And my block quotes are padded too. So it does create more white space, and I think it makes it easier to read.
The idea being it just gently signals to the reader, it's not so bad. It's just one or
that's
two
exactly
more
right.
paragraphs, and they're small paragraphs.
Exactly.
Harmless.
Yes.